Hello everyone and welcome to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at unit rates, which is a term maybe you've never heard before, but it's something that you've definitely come across in your life. So we'll talk about that in just a second. A reminder that this is the full lesson video, so we'll be going in depth, covering a bunch of examples. If you want the short version, where we just go through the main topics pretty quickly, I will link that in the description below. All right, so up on the screen here, I have a couple examples of unit rates that maybe you've seen before, okay? So over here on the left, when you talk about your speed, miles per hour, kilometers per hour, this is a unit rate, okay? If you've looked at the side of some food packaging, a can or a box of cereal or whatever, you'll notice that this has 3 servings per container, per serving, per container. These are all unit rates. And then if you've done a typing test recently to see how many words per minute you can type, then that would be another type of unit rate. And there are lots of others, but these are just a few popular ones. So the last example is I was shopping, looking at granola bars, and if we zoom in here, let's see if we can zoom in. We can. So on the side here, they have the total price, but then they also have, to the right of that, this 95.23 cents per ounce is the unit price. And the unit price can help you sort of be make smart decisions when it comes to buying. All right, so let's see how this works. So here it says the Suzuki family had a pontoon boat, or has a pontoon boat that they use for outings. The boat's gas tank holds 12 gallons of gas and allows it to travel 60 miles on a full tank. How many miles can the boat travel per gallon of gas? So when we were doing all these examples earlier, we were talking about miles per hour, servings per container, words per minute, price per ounce. And this problem says, travel per gallon of gas. The word that you keep hearing over and over and over again is per, okay? And so that's going to be a clue word that we're looking for a unit rate. And really, really important here, if you look at the wording, so I'm going to use some different colors here. So on the left side of the word per, we have miles can the boat travel. And on the right side, we have gallons of gas, all right? And the way you set up your fraction is you always do the left divided by the right. Okay, so what miles can the boat travel? That was on the left side of the word per, so that would be, they told us in the problem, it can travel 60 miles on a full tank. So it's 60 divided by, and then it says miles per gallon of gas, and how many gallons of gas? Well, that would be 12, right? So it's 60 divided by 12, and you can put that in your calculator. This is supposed to be a calculator, but there we go. 60 divided by 12 should just give you 5, and it's important here that we're going to write it as 5 over 1, and you'll see why here in a second. Okay, so this becomes, the answer is 5, and think of it as 5 over 1. Now, remember, on the top, 60 represents miles, and the 12 on the bottom represents gallons of gas. And so what this answer tells me is that for every, I can go 5 miles in this boat, 5 miles for every 1 gallon of gasoline. Okay, so every 5 miles, I'm using up 1 gallon of gasoline, and this is the unit rate. Okay, unit rate just means that there's a 1 in the denominator. We've divided essentially. Okay, let's see how this works. Let's try. Here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to try these 2 problems on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 2, and when you're ready to check your answers, go ahead and unpause the video. Okay, now that you've had time to work, let's check your solutions. For this first one, it says, how much did the recycling center pay Duncan per, there's our magic word, can. All right, so this is on the left, this is on the right. So they paid him $75 per, and he brought in 150 cans. Now, there are a couple ways you could do this. You could reduce this as a fraction. You could just type it in your calculator, 75 divided by 150. If you type it in your calculator, you're going to get 0.5. And remember, this is over 1, so let's think of it as money, okay? Or at least, so on the top we said was dollars, right? And on the bottom we were talking about this was cans. So basically, and so if this is money, let's make it money, right? 50 cents, it's not 5 cents. This would be 5 cents, but that's not what it said, right? So it said 50 cents. So he's getting 50 cents per 1 can that he brings in for recycling. 50 cents per 1 can, and this is our final answer. For number 2, now if you read this one carefully, you might have not have been happy with me because it doesn't have the word per, right? If you read this problem, where is the word per? And I said that's the magic word, right? Well, it's not there, but it is. It's disguised, okay? What I mean by that is if you look at the question, it says how many pieces of candy does Victor give to each guest? You could very easily say that same sentence as how many pieces of candy does Victor give per guest, right? To each guest, per guest, that's the same. So with that in mind, we're going to do the candy on the top, our magic word per, and the guests on the bottom. So candy was 150 pieces divided by the number of guests, which is 15. 150 divided by 15 is 10 over 1. So this is 10 pieces of candy per 1 guest. Every guest is getting 10 pieces of candy. Final answer. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this one. Keep our calculator ready here. All right. Audrey made spaghetti sauce using a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, 6-ounce can of tomato paste, and a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. How many ounces of crushed tomatoes did she use per ounce of tomato paste? So we should be doing crushed tomatoes on the top. So crushed is on the left, right? Crushed tomatoes is here, and then tomato paste on the bottom. So crushed was 28 divided by the 6. If you were to reduce this as a fraction, you would get 13 over 3. If you were to type this in the calculator, you would get 4.666, just repeating 6s here. Here, let's make this a little easier on ourselves. 6 repeating. So you got 2 answers here. The one that should jump out is the bottom one, right? 4 2/3. If you were to type 4 2/3, if you were to type 2 divided by 3 in your calculator, that would give you the 0.6 repeating, right? So this is the same as 4.6 repeating, all right? And so this, that has to be our right answer. 4 2/3 ounces of crushed tomatoes per ounce of tomato paste. Okay, it is time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 2 problems on your own. And when you're ready, we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's check your solutions. For number 1, it says you should have done pounds of apples divided by pieces of pie, so that was 8. And when you put this in the calculator, you should have gotten 0.25, which is the same as this answer, 1 divided by 4. Could have also just reduced the fraction. That would also give you 1 over 4. Okay? For number 2, It says, where's our magic word? Per. So strawberries and then bananas. So we should have done 5 divided by 4, which is 1.25 if you type that in the calculator. And so the only answer that is 1.25 would be this one right here, right? 1 1/4. Okay. All right, last thing we got to talk about. There are a couple of questions in this IXL lesson about speed versus pace, okay? When you're talking about speed, let's just summarize it here. When you're talking about speed, you're talking about dividing the distance by the time. Pace is the exact opposite. Time divided by the distance. So for example, number 1 says, Jamie is training for a triathlon. Last Sunday, he biked 19 miles at a steady pace, finishing the ride in 2 hours. What was Jamie's biking speed last Saturday? Okay, so we just said speed is distance divided by time. Distance divided by time. His distance was 19 miles, divided by his time, which was 2 hours. And if you type that into your calculator, 19 divided by 2, you should get 9.5. And remember, this is over 1. So this is 9.5 miles per 1 hour. This is 9.5 miles per hour. Okay? For the second problem, it says so Jeffrey ran a 10-kilometer charity run last weekend. He finished the race in 50 minutes. What was Jeffrey's running pace? Okay, and we said pace is time divided by distance. So we're going to do his time, 50 minutes, divided by his distance, 10 kilometers. That will give us 5 over 1. And so this is 5 minutes per 1 kilometer. So 5 minutes per 1 kilometer. Okay, it's time for you to practice these last few types of problems. Go ahead and pause the video. Try these problems on your own. And when you're ready, go ahead and unpause and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's check your solutions. For number 1, it said pace. So we should have done the time divided by the distance. So the time was 4 hours divided by 32. And 4 divided by 32, you can reduce by 4. That would be one way to do it. That gives me 1/8. If you had typed that in the calculator, I'm assuming it's giving you 0.125, and you could just match that up here with 1. So he's going 1/8 of an hour per mile. All right, and then for number 2, speed is distance over time. So we should have done 1240 divided by 80. 1240 divided by 80. I cannot do that in my head. So when you type that into the calculator, you will end up with 15.5. 15.5. And the units would be, let's see, it was meters. So this is 15.5 meters per 1 second, which is very fast. 15.5 meters in a second, pretty quick. Okay, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.